are willing, I would like to invite you to rise and to turn with me to face each of the directions. We begin by facing to the east, which I think is most precisely this way. I did not get a compass out the way I did in the fall, so it's going to be a little approximate. Spirit of the east, of crisp spring dawns, bring us renewal and rebirth. Plant us like seeds, cropping up like daffodils and buttercups, hyacinths and tulips. We turn now to the south. Spirit of the south, of warm summer days, bring us passion and growth, to deepen our roots and to stretch us skyward, soaking in the sunshine like sunflowers and daisies, marigolds and zinnias. We turn to the west. Spirit of the west, of cool fall evenings, bring us gratitude and abundance, harvesting our fruits, splashing the fields with goldenrod and chrysanthemums, cosmos and pansies. We turn to the north. Spirit of the north, of cold winter nights, bring us quiet peace to settle ourselves with rest. Watching and waiting with the crocus and holly, violas and snowdrops. We turn to the center, to each other. Spirit of life and essence of the earth, we implore you to make us like these flowers, blooming where we're planted, each in our own season. You may be seated. These are the words of Cassie Lengel, who is the Director of Lifespan Faith Development at the Unitarian Congregation of Westchester, Pennsylvania. I am grateful she wrote and shared them. I'm going to invite Dennis Randall to venture up out of the shade. He has our chalice lighting words for this morning.
So, we light our chalice today with these words from Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern. Within the heart of the flower, the fountain of beauty. Within the heart of the community, a fire that warms and dances. Within the heart of each of us, a spark of the spirit of love. Holy, holy, holy.
Thank you, Dennis. We have a song to share. The lyrics are in your email order of service. And if you don't have a smartphone or if it's not convenient to look it up, I think you will catch on quite quickly. We're going to sing Come Sing a Song With Me. It is number 346 in the hymnal, if you happen to have a hymnal near you. And Kathy is going to lead us. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love that grows in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring us all home through the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring us all home, the rose in the winter time. Thank you, Kathy. Our time for all ages today is the story of where the flower celebration or the flower ceremony or the flower communion service came from. And since I can't ask you interactive questions the way I would like to, I'm going to ask you to raise your hands instead. Has anyone ever heard the name Norbert Čapek? See some hands. How about Maya Čapek? See a hand. Very nice. So Norbert and Maya Čapek were Czech Unitarian ministers. Norbert Čapek's story goes like a lot of 20th century Unitarian stories. He was born into a Catholic family. By the time he was becoming an adult, he decided he wasn't very Catholic. He tried being a Baptist minister for a while. But Norbert asked a lot of questions and said a lot of things that weren't quite in line. And by 1919, the Czech Baptist Church said, "We think you are a heretic." Now, a lot of Unitarians have been called heretics throughout history, and the actual root of the word heretic means to choose, which is important to us as Unitarian Universalists, that we choose what makes sense to us to believe. But the Czech Baptist Church in 1919 was not very interested in Norbert Čapek choosing things, so he left the Baptist Church. He was at this time living in New Jersey, serving a Czech Baptist congregation there. And he had met and married another Czech, a woman named Maya. And the two of them in 1919 said, "Well, if we aren't Baptists, what are we?" And they went to the Unitarian Church in Orange, New Jersey, and they discovered that they were Unitarians. Norbert decided he was going to be a Unitarian minister, and Maya decided she would also study for the ministry and be ordained. In 1921, they decided that they needed to go back to what was at the time called Czechoslovakia, because they wanted to bring this Unitarian religion to their homeland. So they went to Prague and they got a big building and they started the Czech Unitarian Church. And for 20 years, they built this congregation. At its height, it had 3,200 members. They had a church school with 300 children and youth enrolled each year, and they ran a vegetarian restaurant out of the church building. They were a vibrant congregation. Now, if you remember your European history, you might suspect that a vibrant congregation full of people who freely choose what they think is right in the world and speak their minds probably wasn't very popular with the Nazis in 1941. Yes? Does this sound familiar? So we know there are struggles coming, but let us spend a little more time in the 20 years of thriving religious community. Norbert Čapek wrote that the point of religious practice is to develop in each person the following 5 qualities: the ability to have faith and confidence, the ability to hope, the feeling of worship, or reverence for life, the practice of charity or selfless love, and the quality of conscientiousness. These are the things that Unitarian and now Unitarian Universalist religious practice means for the Czech Unitarians. And I have found in my research that when the church first began, Norbert did a lot of lecturing because he wanted to educate people. But after a couple of years, the congregation said, do you think we could have a ritual of some kind? Your ideas are very interesting, but I also come to church to participate in ritual acts that symbolize who we are and how we want to be. And out of this request, Norbert and Maya Čapek. This wind does not want us to stream this service today. We're going to see how this goes. So in the flower communion, members of the congregation are invited to bring flowers. And each flower is different from all the other flowers. Those of you who are gardeners know this already. If you go to your bush, are the flowers identical or are they different? They are different, right? Every flower is different from every other. And every member of a Unitarian Universalist congregation is different from every other. And it is the creation of a bouquet that places all these differences near each other and heightens the beauty of each of them, that symbolized for the Čapeks what it is that we do as a religious community. Now, in 1940, Maya Čapek came to the United States to raise money for relief efforts in Czechoslovakia, and she brought the flower celebration to congregations in the US. In fact, she served as the minister of the North Unitarian Church in New Bedford, Massachusetts. So Massachusetts is the place this flower celebration first began to be celebrated. And unfortunately, while Maya was in the United States, the Nazis came and they arrested Norbert. They charged him with the crime of listening to foreign radio broadcasts and high treason. And he was taken to a concentration camp where he died in 1942. When he died, the president of the American Unitarian Association said, "We have lost a martyr to our faith. And it is important that all of us continue to practice making religious communities where people are free to explore and to choose and to believe what makes sense to them to believe." So once a year, we, along with many other UU churches, celebrate a flower communion to remind us of what it means to gather and to remind us of the gift of the life of the Reverend Norbert Čapek, and the gift of the faithful ministry of Reverend Maya Čapek.
Somebody's going to have to do it when they get up and sing too. Yeah, I can do it
In
for
that
now, though.
spirit,
I hope.
we will continue
Can you check with Jones?
in our worship today,
Jones,
persisting
see if it's in the right place.
despite the wind. Thank you, Paula, for your willingness to hold to stream it. One of the ways we bring all of ourselves to worship is by sharing the joys and sorrows that are unfolding in our lives. And now is the time in our service, all who live. We share this day with people who are struggling for food, for water, for shelter. People who are wondering if tomorrow is a day worth living into. People who want safety, who live in places where there is conflict and violence. We send our love to all those who struggle today. And we know that we also share this day with so many people who are working to make a difference. People who are working to reduce gun violence. People who build shelter. People who collect food. People who reach out to those who are in despair and offer a lifeline and some hope. We send our love also to strengthen all those people working to make a difference. And we remember that some of those people working to make a difference are us. Some of them are people we know. And miraculously, many of them are people we will never even meet. We are part of a great human family trying to make a better world. So we light this candle to remember this today. You'll have to forgive me, a chalice is not the best paperweight. In a moment, we're going to hear from the bell choir. We're going to hear them live. What a treat. And just before we do, I have the words of the Reverend Norbert Chalbeck to honor these flowers which have come together. He wrote, "Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in affection and in devotion to what is holy. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most important gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in the world. May it be so." As the bell choir plays Ode to Joy, you are invited to come forward and choose a flower to take home with you today. A different flower than the one you brought, to symbolize the beauty of this community. Thank you, bell ringers. Maybe one of the best silver linings to come out of this year is having a parish bell choir. Lovely, lovely, lovely. If you have not yet had a chance to get a flower and you would like to, you may also come forward while we share a hymn. We are going to sing the hymn, "From You I Receive," and there are hand motions that go with it, which you can do if you would like. You can sing, "From You I Receive," but with both hands because you won't be holding a microphone. "To You I Give. Together we share, and from this we live." Sarah's going to lead us through it. We're going to do it 3 times, and I will make the motions. You're invited to join in whenever you like.
Oh, yeah, no.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. Thank you for the reading. Thank you for the singing. Dennis Randall has a reading for us. Come venture out of the shade once more.
These roses under my window make no reference to former roses or to better ones. They are what they are. They exist with God today. There is no turn to them. There is simply the rose. It is perfect in every moment of its existence. Before a leaf bud has burst, its whole life acts. In the full bloom flower, there is no more. In the leafless root, there is no less. Its nature is satisfied, and it satisfies nature in all moments alike. But we postpone or remember. We do not live in the present, but with reverted eye, lament the past, or heedless to the riches that surround us, stand on tiptoe to foresee the future. We cannot be happy or strong until we too live with nature in the present, above time. Those were the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Thank you, Dennis. Another great Massachusetts Unitarian, Ralph Waldo Emerson. So because this is a day on which we remember that Norbert and Maya Čapek used flowers to inspire and to connect to their congregation and taught us all to do that. This is the sort of service where I like to think about the lessons we can each learn from plants and from the natural world. We have Ralph Waldo Emerson's insight that roses live in the moment. A rose does not worry about the future. It does not miss the past, but so much of human life is taken up with those activities. So our first invitation from the plants today is to be fully in this moment, at least part of the time. It's a tall order for human beings. In looking up wisdom from plants, I found some lovely sentiments. So I'm going to share a few more with you to follow on that Emerson quote. From Brenda Salgado, who says, "The plant people have taught me to be generous and not shy about blossoming. That is our nature. I think when others see us, it can inspire them to open up and blossom too. And we can be a field ablaze with dignity and beauty together. This truth, that when you can be most fully yourself, you can inspire others to be their fullest selves." This one is important as we consider the way that blossoming fully makes beautiful bouquets. Not be afraid to bloom. From Micah Hobbs Fraser, nature teaches me persistence and perseverance. In the end, nothing stops nature. If a rose can grow out of the concrete, then so can we. Now, if you've done any weeding, let's say, I'll tell you about a place I used to live. There was a patio made of paving stones, and weeds would come up between the paving stones. And I would be pulling them out, infuriated, because I couldn't get to the roots. Somehow this weed had come up through these narrow little cracks, and I didn't understand how that was possible. But even as I was infuriated, I was also inspired. Because what kind of persistence does it take to grow up from underneath a patio and make life come forth? And if a weed can do it, surely I can do it, even when things are hard. Even if I feel discouraged, even if I feel like I am underneath a bunch of paving stones, there's always a way. And finally, a quote from Mia Eshu Robinson, who says, "If Mama Nature teaches us nothing else, she teaches us that diversity is absolutely necessary for survival." Now, she doesn't mean some surface diversity. She means a system where every being is doing their part and pulling their weight. A homogeneous or kind of a gentrified ecosystem would quickly die. If we are committed to organizing sustainable and liberating social movements, those movements must be diverse, pulling especially from those who are the most impacted, instead of falling prey to suppressing their voices or using them as props. It is pretty undeniable after this last year that we are in need of good social movements to protect people, to prop up and sustain American democracy, to make the changes that the world needs. And doing that requires many kinds of people with many strategies and many skills, in the same way that a good ecosystem is full of many kinds of species fulfilling many roles. This is part of the value of being yourself, blossoming just as you are. When you know who you are and what you have to offer, you can plug in to a movement for justice and be a part of that collective action to make a difference. Now, it always seems to happen that when I think I have everything figured out that I would like to say, one more thing comes to me. So yesterday I was listening to an On Being interview with the author Robert McFarlane, and he said to Krista Tippett, "Look at the gift of being now. Look at the astonishing responsibility of legacy leaving, and look at what you have inherited in the wonder of the world. What will our time leave? That for me is the big Anthropocene question. And it's posed beautifully in the work of Jonas Salk, the immunologist who more or less single-handedly gave us the polio vaccine and helped eradicate that disease. He asked, are we being good ancestors? Although we started with the roses which live in the moment and do not worry about the past or the future, because we are human beings, we need the ability to both live in the moment and to learn from the past, to be grateful for all we have inherited, and to live in ways that make us good ancestors to all those who are yet to come. It is my belief that every gift we have been given in our lives is meant for service to others and to life itself. And that each of us, just as we are, each of us is the solution to a problem that exists somewhere in the world. Perhaps you have already encountered that. Perhaps it is yet to come for you. But as you blossom, as you rejoice in the moment, in the diversity, remember that your life is a gift that will make a difference. So bloom, beloved spiritual companions. Offer the world your gifts, your resilience, your faith that a better world is possible. You are needed, and you are beautiful. We have one more ritual to enact, the ritual of receiving and offering. This is another way in which all the members of the congregation are invited to bring their gifts, to join together, to do more than any one of us could do alone. While the offering is received into this lovely gold box, Paula Fisher is going to lead us in singing the hymn For the Earth Forever Turning. The lyrics are in your email order of service. You're also welcome to hum, to listen, whatever is right for you today. For the earth forever turning, for the skies forever receive, for our lives for all we cherish, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the mountains, hills, and pastures in their silent majesty, for the stars, for all the heavens, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the sun, for rain and thunder, for the seasons harmony, for our lives, for all creation, sing we our joyful praise to thee. For the earth forever turning, for the skies forever receive, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing we our joyful song of peace. Thank you, Paula. Dennis Randall has our chalice extinguishing words.
As we extinguish this chalice and prepare to go forth from this time together, let us remember the spark within each of us, the gift of this moment, and the beauty of this community.
Thank you. And join in singing our benediction. You're welcome to sing, you're welcome to harmonize, you're welcome to make the hand motions, whatever speaks to you today. With our minds and our hearts and our hands, may we choose to bless the world. With our minds and our hearts and our hands, may we choose to bless the world. May you go forth to know that you are blessed and that you are a blessing to others. And before you go forth, especially if you are wearing orange, stay for a picture to demonstrate this act of solidarity.